Apple puts podcasts on the web, improves the Apple Sports app, and opens up NFC on the iPhone. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by the MacVoices Slack. Discussions, questions, and answers, and a place to talk tech with your friends. The MacVoices Slack is available to all patrons of MacVoices. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices and join in. The next one is just a piece of information for everybody, and that is that Apple Podcasts are now available on the web, whereas before it was just only in the app. So, as somebody who does a podcast or two, I'm kind of happy to see this because it's one more distribution point. Marty?
Yeah, I have played around with it on various browsers. One of the things that I've noticed is it doesn't do transcripts. So on the app, you can get a link to the transcript, but not on the web version of it, at least at this point. For me, that's significant because some of the stuff that I've done, the academic-based podcasts, I've gotten requests from universities to say, can you provide a transcript for the podcast? Because we have people who don't, either have hearing issues or can't in any way get that podcast. And it would be really more convenient for them if the transcripts were built into the web version of this instead of the app version of it. And, that's sort of an access issue for if you're using them for educational purposes.
It wouldn't surprise me, as accessibility oriented as Apple is, to see that. I don't know if there are any. I'm doing this right off the cuff. I don't know if there are any copyright issues of any kind. I mean, because you're publishing the audio, so you should be able to publish the transcript. I don't know if it's the quality of the transcripts might not be up to the standards that you want, Marty, or that I want in general. So I'm speculating. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Brian asks, does it sync progress within episodes if you start on the podcast app on the phone, pause, and then resume it on the web browser? I don't know. That's a great question. Did you test that, Marty? I didn't even think of testing that, to tell you the truth.
I haven't tested it. I was about to try it, but see if it does.
I know the Mac app and the phone app, sometimes it doesn't do a good job of syncing. So I was curious that too. I can try it.
They ask you to sign in because I signed in using my Apple ID on Chrome, and then just to check it on Safari to see whether the transcripts are there. I just signed in and they're not there either. So it's maybe cloud synced, or hopefully will be cloud synced to be able to do that.
Yeah. So Ben couldn't be here with us tonight, but he said this and Maps, Apple Maps being on the web are awesome. And I agree, Ben. It's great that even if you're not an Apple user now, in theory, you can have access to some of these tools. Or if you are an Apple user, it's just one more place you can make use of them. So good job, Apple.
So what do you think's next? Are they going to throw something else out on the web? Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, but there could be something that they've done podcasts, they've done maps. What's next?
Xcode.
I guess technically mail's always been out there, but.
Yeah. Jim, what'd you say?
Xcode.
Xcode. Spoken like a true developer. I can't think of anything web right off the top.
Video, Apple TV, access to the shows.
Yeah, I was going to say that too, and that could be a big market for them.
Yeah.
If you put that, okay. So playing devil's advocate, if I have the TV app, is there an advantage to putting it on the web?
Yes.
Yeah, Windows and Linux.
Yes.
That's the whole purpose of all of this.
May I comment?
Sure.
Yeah, I think this this discussion about video illustrates the point I think about maps and also podcasts, which is this is opening what is previously sort of inside the proverbial apple walled garden, and it makes it more accessible to people on other devices. And presumably, if Apple starts to really get serious about advertising things, they can insert ads into things for other people. But this is a way that people can get more experience in a very low cost way, just a click of a link in order to understand. Gee, hey, this is really great stuff. Oh, I can't subscribe to Apple Video. I need to buy an iPad. Well, I've been thinking about doing that for a while. I guess this is just enough to push me over the fence in order to do it. So I think this is more. I see this more not in a beneficence of Apple, but it's yet another way to expand on ramps into their ecosystem. Admittedly, it's a very low entry, but if you can get apps on a browser, or you can get podcasts on a browser, which are probably a little bit more of a minority interest compared to putting all the Apple TV and video content available. I think this is nothing but good for Apple going into the future.
Brian?
Yeah, I was thinking the Apple TV app. You can also just go to the browser. At least I'm doing it in Safari, and so on Safari I have the Apple TV app installed on the computer, but I also can go on Safari to tv.apple.com, log in with my credentials, and watch shows on there too.
Oh, I never tried that.
I tried. I just tried it, Brian. And when I clicked to play the first episode on something on Apple TV Plus, even though I was logged into the browser, it might have been a security issue that wanted my CVV code for the credit card that I use. So I don't know if that's probably protective more than anything else.
Yeah, mine didn't prompt me. I had to put in my credentials for Apple, but
you're able to actually watch a show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just started a movie and just paused it after a second after it started.
Okay, I asked because you put the link to tv.apple.com in our private chat. I clicked it and it opened the TV app. It did not open in a browser for me. So then I took that and I pasted it into the URL field in Safari, and I get a prompt to sign in. So
I clicked it from our chat and it came up in Safari.
Really?
It does have the header where you can choose, since you have the app, it says open. So I guess you can open the app. It's intelligent enough to realize that you have it.
Okay, well, Web, you may all have us able to watch.
I was doing the same thing, and it is asking for my CVV code. So I'll try that real quick and be right back with you. So, or I may be watching Bad Monkey. I haven't decided yet. You got to get really entertaining to me. So
I watched those first two episodes.
Ironic. Web. I just put my CVV code in and it opened up Bad Monkey. It gives me the option to play it in the app because I have the TV app on it, but I've been trying to run it strictly through Safari. Okay, so once I verify my credentials by the CVV, it seems to run.
So in other words, you have to have an Apple account.
Maybe that's the enticement. I don't know, because I have one, because it recognized when I opened it up that I was already signed into podcasts using the web version of podcasts. So it recognized me, but then it gave me the option, as Brian was saying in the upper left, to say, don't you just want to open this up in the Apple TV app since you have it on your computer?
Well, it brings up an interesting question, I guess, that because now I'm going to backtrack. Maybe I don't have to have an Apple account. I obviously have to have an Apple TV account, but that doesn't necessarily mean I have to have an Apple account, does it? Can I buy Apple TV without having an Apple ID? or Apple account. I guess it's going to change here in a few couple weeks.
I don't think so. Can you?
Great question. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Because
chat room?
because you have to have an Apple device in order to do it. Presumably, almost all of those people already have Apple accounts.
Well, now you know what? That's an interesting comment, because let's say I'm a Windows user, I open this the way we've just opened it in a browser. If I hit sign in, does it give me an option? Enter email or Apple account.
So at some point they need to take a credit card, unless they're going to give away content for free. They need to take a credit card and have some sort of account to charge against. And for them, the easiest mechanism would be just, I think, to push everybody into creating an Apple account and entering credit card info, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to do, well, let's take it just one step further. So if I put an email address in, and it asks for an account.
Let's do an experiment.
Yeah.
Chuck, you tried to create a new account. Web, tell him your credit card number.
Card number, yeah.
CVV code and zip code, and
we
I
promise
love
to
you,
bleep it
but
out.
not that much.
Okay.
Actually,
so,
you would be loving everybody if you
Yes,
put your
I know.
credit card.
But not that much,
okay, so here's what I did, because I forgot. I have an Apple account with the email address I put in. So this time I put in an email address that definitely does not have an Apple account. And it gives me a prompt: create an Apple account with a password, first name, last name, all the details, agree to terms and conditions. Now, I'm not going to continue because I'm not going to get on that whole road. But so it is forcing you to create an Apple account, and I'm sure, to your point, Mark, it's that at somewhere down the path they're going to gather up a credit card so that I can have access to Apple TV.
But I must say, unlike other companies who shall remain nameless, I don't seem to get any spam, from Apple relative to TV shows or things. I might every now and again, maybe dim memories of getting an announcement about new shows, but compared to all the new shows that Ken Ray talks about on a almost daily basis, it seems, coming from Apple, for 2 or 3 months in the future, I get no communication that frequently from Apple about any of the new shows and content. So, I think for anybody out there who's listening, who for whatever reason, if you don't have an Apple, account, don't worry about getting spam. It's just not there.
It's something Charlotte Henry and I've talked about, that Apple is putting out all these great shows, and a lot of times we're in the echo chamber, so we hear about them, but a lot of the time the rest of the world doesn't seem to. So, I guess a notification of a new show could be viewed as spam. If it's something I don't care about, or if it's something I'm interested in, then I might view it as a notification. But you're right, Mark, to your point. Unless I listen to Ken or a few others, I don't know about some of the things that are coming up.
And I hear about them, and that's really interesting, and I forget, because, hearing in July of a show coming in October, forget about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Brian, the next one is for you.
All right.
You've been waiting for it all this time, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the Apple Sports app is getting updated with NFL and college football scores.
This is fantastic. I'm loving it. Such a great app to begin with.
So now we have Brian's pronouncement. It's fantastic. That's good.
And of course, there's pluses and minuses to this app, as there is, I guess, with any app. But if you're looking for an app that doesn't have ads in your face, that loads quick, and you can get to at least the information that it provides, you can get to it in a quick way, this is your app. Now, it doesn't have everything that you might be looking for, and there's other apps for that. But for what it does really well. I'm excited and it's bringing on, college football and the NFL. And I was trying to remember. I'm like, well, I thought I could have sworn I remember seeing that before, but the app is actually too new. It came out after the season had ended before. But yeah, this is great.
Brian, it still doesn't have some of the. I'm going to get emails, but some of the less popular sports. I don't think. But the addition of the NFL and NCAA is definitely kind of a big deal. So it feels like it's once again it's something that's being built out slowly.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how it continues to be built out. The ability to select the leagues you want to follow, the teams you want to follow. Again, at least the ones that it has, is good. Very good.
Yeah. Mark, you had a comment on that?
Yeah. I'm sort of a maybe a high, medium, and low. I'm sort of a low sports fan until you get to the very end where you have the playoffs leading to the World Series or any Niners game or playoffs leading into to the Super Bowl. And all my Android carrying friends, they have all these great apps and everything, and I've never really bothered, but I think now that this has this, this may be an inducement to get me to download it and try it, and that way I can quote and see what's happening with the Chiefs, just like the best of them.
Yeah, I admit I have not installed it because I just didn't have a need. But this makes me, as we head into football season anyway, it makes me want to look at it a little more. Webb, did you have a comment?
No, I just go Chiefs.
Yeah.
When they get their third Super Bowl in a row, I got to be humble now, right?
Yeah.
I would have been disappointed.
Yes. Yeah. Your self-control is admirable.
I got to tell you, I only follow a few teams, and the app's been on my phone, and I haven't opened it since I put it on my phone. Because my muscle memory is to open a browser wherever I'm at and just type in Cubs score. And that will tell me the information I need at that moment, where they are in the game, what the score is, things like that. Or if I really want to follow the game, I'll open up the MLB app. So, with football season starting, not my primary sport, but I do follow some stuff. I'm going to have to take a look at the app again. Move it onto the homepage, the first page on my phone, so it's there for me.
So that was just for you, Brian, because I saw that and I thought, I know I want to hear his comments on it.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's really good. I really enjoyed it actually. In particular, it loads if you're looking at the play-by-play, you're not available to say watch that game. You're busy with something. You're just kind of have it on in the background. It loads quickly. It's a very clean interface. You don't have to worry about ads popping up here and there. It was great for baseball, great for basketball, and I'm sure it'll be great for football as well.
Yeah. And I'll do a quick commercial here for Brian. The reason we were teasing him about being the sports guy, he did a terrific presentation on the sports app and sports streaming and everything at MacStock. And so if you want to hear what he had to say, MacStockConferenceandExpo.com, buy the virtual pass, and you'll be able to see his presentation along with all the others. So that's why, even though he's wearing a tie, he's a jock at heart. So.
Yeah, thank you.
The next one, I'm intrigued to see what you guys come up with on this. But Apple is opening up the NFC chip on the iPhone, starting with the release of iOS 18.1, for third parties to be able to use, payment apps. So you'll be able to tap and pay now with things other than Apple Pay. Comments, thoughts, good idea, bad idea, surprise? Mark?
Yes. Two comments. The first, the proactive one, again, I think this expands the Apple ecosystem in other ways that I think will help it. There are all sorts of other apps that could legitimately make use of this capability. So it's good to see them, going out and providing access. I think that can help expand and maybe, again, provide maybe an on-ramp into the Apple ecosystem from people who have an app that can do it on their Android phone and hate their Android phone, and now maybe this will result in alternatives that will lure them in. The other comment is, I think they're trying to get out ahead of regulatory changes that seem to be sweeping the globe, and by doing this, I think they can get out ahead of that, which means they can control it instead of being victimized by different regulatory bodies on this, that, or the other continent, that may or may not understand what Apple's doing and compel them to do something that is really injurious to Apple and or its users. So I think for confluence of all of these reasons, I think this is a beneficial development.
Anybody else have any thoughts on this?
I'm sure Apple is still going to be able to get their transaction fees as they open this up. They're still within the Apple's rules, if you will, to do this. So Apple's going to be okay. They're not giving away anything for free here.
Right.
That's okay. Personally, I'm fine with it. Yeah, we've talked before about using the Apple payment system. I use it almost exclusively now. It was funny. I was thinking about going to the bank to cash a check. And I got to think, when was the last time I actually had to use cash? And the answer was I had to tip a valet who got my car, but even the valet service itself was touchless. So.
Yeah, and Web, to that point, I think this is very interesting because I'm seeing more and more events that are emailing me pre-event and saying, that first of all, there are a lot of enhanced bag policies, but more importantly, so many of them are saying cashless. Don't bring cash, we won't take it.
You can't use cash at the football stadium where the Chiefs play. I was there on Saturday. It is totally cashless. Even the vendors that are walking around selling beer or water or whatever, that's cashless too. So I don't think there's any real paper cash transactions that go on in the stadium at all, except for maybe wagering between the guy next to you. So
it's pretty consistent across all the stadiums, I think. Web.
Excuse me, that?
I think it's pretty consistent through all the stadiums. They're doing that these days.
Yeah,
you don't even need the tickets on your phone with the app now. So,
It's much faster. It's much more. It's faster and convenient, and you don't have to think. You get 50, and then they're trying to calculate. Well, what's the appropriate change and stuff? Boom, just forget all that. It's quick and easy.
Yeah. But the downside is I don't have it here, but I have this huge glass bowl that I used to put my ticket stubs in.
Okay.
And then every 3 or 4 years, I'd kind of open it up and pull it out and say, yeah, I remember, that game or that concert, whatever. That's all gone.
Yeah, it is. Well, I've got my collection from many years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have concert ticket collection, and not anymore. Marty?
Yeah, it was good that Webb could get another Chiefs reference into the podcast or the streaming. It's always maybe he'll go for a trifecta. He'll give you a chance for a trifecta on it. I'm looking at some of the comments in the article, and the concerns, at least the people who are making the comments, is that banks or lenders will develop their own app and stop accepting Apple Pay as a method or Apple's system, which means it's their way to kind of condense the money and keep the money through them. So some concern that this will deflate Apple's system. I know this is important with money, but I'm just wondering, and I don't have the knowledge or expertise to talk about this, what other ways that NFC can be used that is not necessarily about paying for stuff.
Yeah, well, they talk about car keys as an example, or hotel keys. So, that's I followed the link in the story. They had linked back to the Apple press release announcing this, and then there was a link to some of their developers' information. And yeah, they're really trying to broaden this. It's not just about payments. And again, I think this is Apple trying to be a good guy and opening it up and grab control of what might be a losing cause with them on payments and things. But that aside, yes, there's all sorts of things. I'd love to have it at my next car, or even a retrofit. It could I could use it to open the car. So I think there's all sorts of beneficial activities that can be enabled by this. And again, I think some might argue, okay, maybe this is neutrality, with what's available in the Android, ecosystem. But maybe there are other security advantages, because I haven't really studied Android, to know what additional strengths Apple may have above and beyond that as they open up these capabilities to developers.
Yeah.
And I have to wonder, depending on how it's implemented, if they started trying to shut out the Apple system, I mean, wouldn't that open Apple up to be able to sue, for anti-competitive practices? Just exactly what Apple's been accused of. If the rest of the world tried to do that to them, and how successful would they be?
So, sorry, I didn't follow that. The worry is some developer or group of developers would try to do what?
Well, if I understood the comments earlier, that they would be trying to force out the Apple accepting Apple Pay, and if I understood the comments correctly, then I have to wonder what opportunity Apple would have to, take the very same baseball bat and beat the other guys with it that they've been beat on for so long. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I think stores would they'll take whatever payment mechanism the customer wants. They may prefer certain ones over the others, because I'm starting to see that some restaurants, as well as other stores, are starting to offer a cash discount, or they say we had a 3% surplus surcharge if you pay with a credit card. So it's not far reach. You might see that if they argue Apple or this or the other thing. But I think going back to something Webb says, I think Apple may have a very small token payment for transactions that are rendered through its network. Sort of analogous to a lot of other credit card sharing fees for different partners, and you have a MacVoices branded credit card or things. There's amount that go back to the different stakeholders. So who knows if this will be material to Apple? Given the size of their other revenue opportunities, I think not, but. I think again, this is another entry ramp into their system that reduces friction, and no longer will people be able to say, "Well, I'd really like an iPhone, but I can't because I'm so in love and so dependent, and my life would end if I can't use this one particular app that's only available on Android." So I think this, along with the other things we talked about earlier, is a market growing move by Apple.
As an aside, this is pure curiosity. How many people on the panel have an Apple Watch? Okay, I think that's pretty much everybody. How many use tap to pay with the watch, not the phone? Okay, good. Because I'm still surprised at the number of people that either are unaware or just don't use the watch, but they will use the phone. So
I'm kind of the opposite. I can never figure out how to do my phone.
You mean for Apple Pay?
Yeah. I think I've only used the phone twice in 6 years. I used the watch probably 500 times.
Jim, now that you bring it up, I'm embarrassed to say I'm not sure how to do it on my phone either.
Double
'Cause
click on the access button on the right. So
The same way you do on a watch.
yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, I never think about the watch.
Yep.
I've done it, maybe as many as half a dozen times, but it's sort of muscle memory. Instead of going for the credit card, I reach in the pocket and get my phone. So I've never really, thought about it.
Yeah, but Webb, I thank you, because I didn't. It is exactly the same thing on the watch. You just double click let's see the case, the button on the right, and it pops up and lets you pick which card you want to use.
I'm also using. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I had a watch that would do it before I had the phone, so my muscle memory is the other way.
Okay.
Yeah, Webb.
At my other house, I have a type of lock that unlocks. I unlock the door by putting my watch up to the lock, and it unlocks the door. So it's not just for payments, but like I said, it's a Schlegel watch or a clock. So, but that I find that real convenient too. So,
well, Marty was saying, what could be used, what other purposes, and there's one. But I'm also seeing now in our area, gas pumps are starting to appear that have the tap to pay. And that is very nice, because, none of the enter your code, enter your zip code, enter your date of birth, enter, your grandma's maiden name. Just hold the watch up and start to pump.
What's a gas pump?
Yeah.
Oh,
yes. EV people. EV people. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.